Hello, this is Liz, in a pre-recorded Liz's Picks. I'm off on Friday. Uh, Not as great as seeing my family, but I am getting my hair cut, so that's a thing that's happening. But of course, I have Freebie Friday picks for you, so you will have something to watch this weekend. And we have a good and diverse lineup, as I usually try to do. The first are two movies. They're both on Tubi, and they're probably very timely to watch right now. The first is Fruitvale Station, and that is the film about Oscar Grant, who was killed by police in LA in 2012. I believe 2012. He, like so many of these cases, was unarmed, and in his case, he was really just caught up in a rowdy crowd and wasn't really doing too much himself, and still ended up paying with his life. And I think movies like this are important to watch right now because it's like this stuff didn't pop out of thin air. It's been brewing for a while because these things just keep happening. And going off of that, Tubi also has for free right now a documentary called The Untold Story of Emmett Till, which I'm sure most of us are familiar with the tragedy of Emmett Till, which is a young man who was accused of whistling at a white woman and ended up being murdered. And his mother famously wanted an open casket so they could see what happened to her son. And again, I think these are two movies that are very good for people to watch, mainly again, so they can get a perspective as to why there is a lot of pain regarding these cases and with what's going on right now. Again, this stuff didn't just come out of nowhere. These are issues that have been with us for decades, if not centuries. And I would say since they're available for free, they would be good movies to watch. We do have some other fare as well. A very interesting film, Donnie Darko. Definitely kind of one of the first cult favorite films of the early aughts. I remember being a teenager and having friends be like, "Oh my God, you've got to watch this movie. It's the weirdest thing ever." And it is. It's the one good movie made by that director. He made Southland Tales after this, and it was awful. But this is a fun sort of metaphysical science story, and it also takes place in '88. It's sort of the backdrop is the 1988 election. Jake Gyllenhaal stars. His sister Maggie Gyllenhaal stars as his sister. Beth Grant, who you've probably seen in a ton of movies as a very stern woman, has some great moments here, including the line, "Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion." And I don't want to spoil too much, but man, what a turn role for Patrick Swayze. And I'll leave it at that. I think it really does still hold up as a movie overall. I'm still very impressed with it. And also on IMDb TV is Whale Rider. This is a very just a nice little film. It's about a young girl in a Maori tribe in New Zealand. She would like to ascend to her birthright of being the tribal leader, but patriarchal society, only men can be tribal leaders. However, her twin, who was meant to be the leader, died at birth, so she sees it as, well, I'm next in line. Great performance by Keisha Castle-Hughes, who I believe was only 13 or 14 when she filmed this movie, and it brought a lot of acclaim to Nikki Caro, the director, who is still making good movies today. Up next, if you want a documentary and you're a horror sci-fi fan like myself, there is or even if you're not, you might find this fascinating because of the influence on culture this movie has had, but it is a film called Memory, The Origins of Alien, and it's obviously about the 1979 film Alien. Goes in a lot into filming the chestburster scene. It is an interesting documentary, though. I am pretty much a fan of the first two movies of Alien, and then it has gotten progressively worse since then. My partner will defend Alien 3 to an extent. I'm not as forgiving, and Prometheus is still one of the worst movies I have ever paid money to see. Although it was fun on a side note because my friend and I kept riveting it the whole time. So, but I think the first two Alien movies, and especially the Ridley Scott one, they are masterpieces of science fiction, and I would say for Alien, like good kind of haunted house horror. I believe John Landis was the one who said this about this movie. He goes, Alien solves the haunted house problem, because you always have the question of, why don't you just leave? Well, here's the problem. You can't. in Aliens. So it goes into the set design of this film. So a lot of H.R. Geiger's designs, and also the way Ridley Scott and the person who wrote the film, Dana Bannon, scripted this out. So if you're just interested in filmmaking, I would give this movie a watch. Also on Crackle is the great Alexander Payne movie Nebraska, starring Bruce Dern. Will Forte, who's more known for his comedic roles. He's great dramatic performance here, great supporting performance by Judith Squibb. This is about an old man. He gets a sweepstakes, lives in Montana, he gets a sweepstakes letter, and it's like, oh, I gotta go to Nebraska to collect the prize. And, you know, this sounds like the start of one of those horrible stories you read on the news of, oh no, this old person got scammed, but it turns into a very beautiful comedy drama and some great performances. And I think Alexander Payne is still one of the best directors we have working today. And if it's beautiful black and white as well. Some of the best. I love it when modern movies do black and white. It looks really good. Like, I loved the way The Lighthouse was shot. And I love the way this looks too. It gives it a very kind of new, it almost reminds me of like Italian neorealism a little bit. But I think it's a great movie about just ordinary people and kind of the way that, you know, they can be extraordinary and quirky in their own ways. So up next on Vudu, this is a movie I saw in high school and absolutely loved. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. And fun fact, this is the directorial debut of George Clooney. So this is about Chuck Barris, who was the Gong Show TV host, and he wrote an autobiography in the 80s claiming that he was a CIA assassin. Which, I mean, could be. Not the weirdest thing they've ever done, but really entertaining movie. Great performance by Sam Rockwell. I think this might have been the movie that kind of got a lot of studios and directors and casting directors to notice Sam Rockwell. Go like, okay, this is an actor who will go for it no matter what role he's given. Good performance by Drew Barrymore as well. I actually think she is someone who is underrated as an actress. I think she's given some really good performances. I thought she was hilarious on the Santa Clarita Diet, and she played little Edie Beale in the HBO adaptation of great movie about Grey Gardens, and she was wonderful in there as well. This is definitely a movie where it came out. I don't think a lot of people saw it, and just word of mouth never really let it kind of grow into a following. So I would say watch this movie. I think it's a really entertaining movie. And you, like everyone else, will be wondering how much is what Chuck telling is real. And our final movie for today, I'm very glad this film is on for free now because I absolutely love it. It is the film The Love Witch. So I've recommended this for Prime. And this is a great little movie. It is not quite a satire. It is more of an homage to the sort of Technicolor, you know, films about witchcraft and witches from the like 1960s. And it's about a woman who's trying to cast a love spell on someone. Also, fun fact, directed by a woman. Horror has actually there's been a huge breakthrough in women directing horror films, and as a horror fan, I'm here for it. But this movie, it just looks beautiful, and kind of like the film Suspiria, which I still think is one of the most beautiful films ever made. Unlike Suspiria, The Love Witch is coherent. So, win-win. But yeah, I would say watch it. This is one where, you know, even though it's classified as a horror film, there is a lot of comedy in there. And this might be one where you can kind of win over people who aren't quite fans of the genre. So there's a little bit of a humor aspect to it. And it is tongue-in-cheek. It kind of knows what it's doing and what it's paying homage to, / kind of satirizing as well. But I think it's a great little movie, and I'm very glad that it's available for free. And you, if you're anything like me, you kind of might want the main actress's wardrobe the entire time. So I hope you all enjoy these movies and have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Have a nice week.